Well, it is the final sprint to Super Tuesday. You know, you came to Houston last month, but overall haven't spent a lot of time here in Texas. Wanted to ask you, are you confident that voters here know who you are as a candidate?
I think so, and we're going to do everything we can to continue to get the message out. I don't have decades of presence on the national scene or billions of dollars to get on the airways, but what we do have is a message about how to turn the page and deliver real, bold, progressive change in a way that can actually unify a country that is dangerously divided. With that message, we've defied all of the odds. We won the state of Iowa and have campaigned strong across the country and believe that Texans, in a state that is looking to the future and has so much at stake in the decisions about to be made, that Texas is a place where our message is going to resonate. And so we'll be pushing to earn every vote that we can going into Tuesday.
You know, one of your biggest challenges has been to broaden your appeal beyond your overwhelmingly white base of voters. Houston is actually the most diverse city in the country. What is your message in terms of wanting to be president for everyone?
Well, one of the reasons we got into this campaign is the belief that we need to create a future American experience defined by belonging, where everybody sees that they have a place. And I also know that no one is suffering the pain of living under Donald Trump's presidency more than Americans of color. It's why it's so important that we defeat him. And I'm putting together a campaign that can build the majority that will be needed, not only to defeat him, but to make sure that we bring along these critical House and Senate seats so that we can actually deliver the reforms that we need, raise wages, hold corporations accountable, act on gun violence and climate change, act toward racial and economic justice, and finally deliver real immigration reform. These changes are within our grasp because the American people want them, but we need a president who can unify us and move us into the future rather than continuing the exhausting chaos and division that we're experiencing today.
You know, speaking of gun violence, you support universal background checks. You've talked about how mental health contributes to gun violence, but here in Texas, you know, even moderates bristle at the words gun control. What is your message to people here about the Second Amendment?
Here's the thing, universal background checks are an example of an idea that the overwhelming majority of Americans, including Republicans, including gun owners, can get on board with. You got to ask yourself, how can an idea have 80 or 90% support among the American people and still fail to get action in the American Congress? It shows you what's broken with our system. It's why we need political reform to deal with districts drawn by politicians picking out their voters, to deal with the role of money in politics so that the results actually follow. The Second Amendment, it does not have to be a reason to do nothing whatsoever to save American lives. We know that background checks would do that, just as I believe that the kind of weaponry that I trained on to serve in the military, when it comes to assault weapons, for example, don't need to be sold for profit anywhere near an American school. These are common sense positions, totally compatible with the Constitution. They may not prevent every tragedy, but they will save thousands of American lives.
Finally, being on the campaign trail can lead to self-discovery. What is something about yourself that you were surprised to learn?
Well, you're always growing and you're always humbled when you're on the campaign trail because you're looking voters in the eye and you're asking for their support. And I know that when I'm approaching voters, asking them to trust me with their future, that's a very deep connection and a very deep request to make. But what I've learned is that I've been growing through this process too, and that I'm always better off for listening to the perspectives of those whose lived experiences are different from my own. And I'm committed to doing the same as president because that's what it's going to take to govern a diverse country full of Americans with different stories, different experiences, but a shared future that we need to deliver together and move beyond this toxic and divided moment that we're in.